channel and to our live stream Q&A. Ask me anything where you can ask me, a historian, anything you'd like to about history or social studies. We do this every Friday and Saturday. It's a great way to start your weekend here, Fridays at 6 p.m. Eastern, and keep the weekend fun going on Saturdays at 6 p.m. Eastern. And you can vote here on YouTube for our live stream lecture topic for Sundays at 4 p.m., where we do our live stream lecture. That's a topic where I'm more talking about a particular historical issue or topic. And I'll do this. This is the famous painting, The Sons of Horatii, by the 1770s painter Jacques-Louis David. And yes, we are live here at the Friendly Neighborhood History Channel, where we handle history in a friendly, neighborly manner, 24/7, 365, or 366 days a year. And like I said, I'll be answering all of your questions about history or social studies for the next hour or so. We'll see how long my strength holds on. I'm very, very tired. But I'm here and I'm ready to answer any questions you have about history or social studies so that when you go out clubbing tonight or go out with your friends or go out to dinner, you can impress everyone around you of your newfound knowledge about history and social sciences. It's what we do here. It's free of charge, completely free of charge. The only thing that I could ever ask in return is that you like and subscribe. Get notified about our videos. We usually have long-form videos every Monday and Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We also have short-form videos dropping every day. We will be doing a long-form video at some point this weekend, I think, but probably not today. Busy schedule, different obligations and errands are keeping me from doing that video. But I will be here for our Q&A right now, obviously, and tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern, where you can keep the weekend fun going with more questions and answers, all free of charge. Liking and subscribing is 100% free. If you can do that, that would be really helpful. You can also consider doing a super chat if you want me to go in depth on a particular topic, or you want to talk about something that's a little askew from history, like philosophy or politics or religion. And of course, there's also a membership. You can become a member, get early access and bonus content and all of that wonderful stuff. We also have social medias and all of that stuff. So, yeah. Well, we try to handle everything we can in a friendly manner. But yeah, drop a like and think of a topic or a question or comment about history or social studies. In the chat, and I'll be sure to answer it as soon as you can. Hello, Mr. France. Punchy, I don't know who that is. You are wrong, and you're disgracing Bluey. Anyways, so yeah, questions about history or social studies, I will be answering them. Welcome to the Friendly Neighborhood History Channel and all of that great stuff. And we'll see how long we go for today with me answering questions about history and social sciences. Who won the Battle of Hastings in 1066? Well, the Normans won the battle, and they were able to overtake the English, the Anglo-Saxons, and in the Anglo-Saxon lines of kings that had dominated England for about 5 centuries, and create the House of Normandy under William the Conqueror, and his family created a permanent connection between England and France that has lasted basically ever since then. How did Napoleon die? I think he had a fever. Was it hay fever? He had some sort of fever that affected him. He died on the island of St. Helena in 1821. He was only 52. Hector is going to be running 3 Honda Civics. Okay, have fun with that. Did you know France did its last beheading via guillotine in 1971? I knew that. 30 Years' War, how bad was it? It was pretty violent and impactful, but it was a war that happened in waves. You would have Catholic armies and Protestant armies fighting each other in the middle of Germany and the Holy Roman Empire throughout Central Europe. The Swedes would get involved, the Danes would get involved, the French got involved later on. The Spanish Habsburgs were involved the entire time trying to preserve their control over large sections of Europe. Why did Martin Luther King die? He was killed by James Earl Ray, who was a racist who wanted him dead. Where did the Palestinians really come from? The Palestinians are a combination of different groups of people who live in the Semitic areas of the Levant and the Middle East. Many of them are Arabic, but that is way too simplistic to call them Arabs. They have different there are different Semitic peoples that have lived there for a very long time, and some of them are related to the Palestinians, and the Palestinians and Jews are even related. They're Semitic peoples. So, let me see here. Who was in control of Rome when Jesus was crucified? Tiberius Caesar, the second Roman emperor. Let me see. What's up? All of a sudden, IQs drop. People don't know world history. Well, that's why I'm here. I'm here to help people with their IQs and their knowledge of world history. Given that history is written by the winners and taking into account so many destroyed documents, how do you maintain confidence in your view of historical events? Some of it is just faith that truth wins and that people do their best to tell the truth when they practice history. I mean, that's the job of a historian. We tell the truth. And whenever you practice history, you're a historian, so your job is to tell the truth and to look at what happened and look at it through a true lens and look at it through an objective lens. History is often written by those who come out on top, but we have so much evidence right now of perspectives of history from people on the margins that we have more and more confidence in in a larger tapestry of history than we did before. Where in Africa did Jesus hide as a child? Egypt. Back in World War One or two, how did mustard gas kill people? I believe that World War Two, one is World War Two. Mr. France, good question, but basically mustard gas, I think, poisons and destroys the lungs. I'm not sure exactly how it can kill someone. Let me see. If we achieve true self-aware artificial general intelligence, what would its fundamental rights and purposes be? Probably to serve humans, and as long as it served humans and protected them, you probably have something like from iRobot that can't harm or destroy humans. As long as it did that, it would be given carte blanche to live as it wanted. Was ancient Egypt really as significant as they portray it? Pharaohs, yes, it's extremely significant. It's the first civilization in the world that's kind of a united country with one ruler, and they do that before the Mesopotamians do it, before the Indians do it, and before the Chinese do it. They have a ruler, a king, a powerful culture. Obviously, you see the zeitgeist and influence of Egyptian culture from the processes of mummification and the mythology of the Egyptians. So, yeah. No, you cannot send me a picture of that. I don't want to see it, and I don't really care. So, who won World War I and World War II? Well, if you're referring to the wars in the 20th century, the British, the Americans, and the French. If you're referring to World War I in the 1750s, which is the real World War, the 7 Years' War, then the British won that one, as well as the Prussians. If a truth is silenced by those in power and the destruction of documents is common in history, how do you maintain faith in the knowledge of history without questioning its authenticity? I question the authenticity all the time. We have to go back and look at things. We have to look at primary sources as much as we can have access to them. Primary sources are not just written documents. There's also paper products, there's also depictions. Archaeology has uncovered a lot of it. Artwork, things that really tell more and more of the story. In the 1600s or older or younger, how long did the plague last for and how many people died? Plagues were intermittent and could happen at different times depending on how things were going. Ahmed, good to have you here again. Humans have been in Europe since the Neolithic, assuming humans were created 300,000 years ago. Would it be that humans were extremely travel handy? Yes, humans love to travel. Let me see. If an instantaneous perfect universe simulation is created and destroyed, did the conscious being within it truly exist or suffer? What? I don't even know what you mean. I mean, they relatively suffered, I suppose. I'm more about answering questions about history and social studies rather than metaphysics. How much gold did Spanish colonialism steal from South America? I don't know about a particular quantity of gold that was taken from the natives in South America. Now, the natives were utilizing it, but not always. The Spanish mined silver and gold quite greedily in Central and South America after they conquered the Aztecs and the Incas. So, other questions about history or social studies? Let me pick a different background. I want to give a nice historical background, a good photo. The first steamships. Here's America in the middle of the Industrial Revolution, or the very beginnings of its own Industrial Revolution in the 1810s and 20s. So, Spain, specifically the Spanish Empire, was very greedy and partly collapsed due to the gluttony. They stole lots of stuff from the Americas, right? Yes. Pretty much. Anyways. Please like and subscribe. Welcome to the Friendly Neighborhood History channel, where we do history in a friendly and neighborly manner, and we're answering all of your questions today about social sciences. Just drop a topic, question, or comment in the chat, and I'll be happy to answer it as soon as I can. What happened in North Sentinel back then? Don't know. Would us present now survive the plague? Yes, there are treatments for the plague that we could forget. When do we get free brownies? As soon as you like and subscribe. Spain mostly had silver from South America. Yes, I know that. Let's see. How much control did leaders like the Rothschilds have over kings and governments? Can you give a couple examples? I mean, some, but not a huge amount. Wealthy people have always exerted and tried to exert tons of control over societal systems, economic systems, political systems, and they've been pretty successful at that. But the Rothschilds are obviously the one everyone wants to focus out, but there's more than that. So, polluted the earth like never before with the Industrial Revolution. That's true. The Industrial Revolution did pollute the earth. This is the earliest part of America's pollution. You can see the steam rising out of the steamship here. The burning of coal was huge for environmental consequences. Let me see here. This is supported by what was mentioned earlier about the beast Israel and that the dragon America is the one who gives it power and kinship. Are you just reading out of a book and writing it on the chat because you're bored and don't have anything to ask? Let me see here. And this is not lip filler. I don't make enough money to do lip filler. I don't need lip filler. Let me see here. In the 1600s, how was punishments back then? I mean, you have public displays of torture, punishment, cruelty, and execution were common. Public punishment was a common thing in medieval and early modern societies, particularly in the West, where you would have people being put in pillories and stockades, people being whipped, people being paraded around the streets with people yelling shame, shame against them, people being executed by beheadings and by hangings. Let me see. And I don't need Botox either, and I don't have any. But you're trying too hard, Adam. Where is all the Aztec gold? There wasn't as much as the Spanish had hoped for. They were looking for the city of gold, El Dorado. But yeah, Israel did 9/11 and JFK and Kirk, and yeah, and you're just dumb, don't know what happened. Or maybe you're not dumb. Maybe you're just pretending to be dumb. Not a question, just a comment. I think your channel is great. Keep up the great work. You are definitely a jack of all trades and a master of none. Appreciate your rhetoric. Yes, the master of none. Thanks. Let me see here. Yes, I'm a crypto Jew, Jewish clown. That's hilarious. I'm none of those things. Not at all. I'm not Jewish. I'm not being paid by APAC. If I was, I would have much better lighting and much better presentation. I'm not getting paid. I wish I could get paid by someone like that, but I'm not going to be. I'm not even talking about that topic, and yet people want to come on here and focus on it because you all are obsessed about it. And even when I do talk about it and defeat all of the arguments, it doesn't even work. Yes, my eyebrows are very, very big and very, very luscious, and you're very, very jealous. Hello, Sean. Welcome to the Friendly Neighborhood History Channel. Is America the best country in the world for average man? When it comes to standard of living, the United States is certainly up there. Are in U.S. and state are you in? I am an American. I won't say which state I am in. I keep my private life very secret. My moderators, longtime Friendly Neighborhood Historians, members don't even know my name or where I'm from. When we do and yes, I love Crystal Geyser water. When we do a members live only, which I will do eventually, I will reveal probably more about myself as time goes on and the channel continues to build. I'll probably have to unmask myself at some point. We're over 10,000 Friendly Neighborhood Historians. Those are people who have liked and subscribed, and you could be one of them too. I don't ban anyone who calls me out. Call me out for what? I'm not being paid. I'm not being paid. You can pay me right now. If you want to argue about the whole Jew thing or the whole Israel thing, just put in a super chat, Vevicte, and we can talk about all of this. And hello, Hars. It's great to see my moderator here. Will you be my butt buddy? No, I've already got one. I think Europe is much, much better, at least for workers' rights and quality of life. There's a lot in Europe that the United States doesn't have, that's to be sure. And follow our social media handles here that my wonderful moderator Hars put in the chat. You can go check out our Patreon, read our articles on Substack, all of that stuff. Where in Europe? It's a big place. That's a good point. Needs money to talk about topics. I'm talking about topics that are related to history and social studies. If you want to talk about politics, religion, and your obsession with Jews, then do a super chat and I'll talk about those topics. But after the Charlie Kirk thing where everybody wanted to talk about Charlie Kirk, and I already addressed my thoughts on that whole thing, I just decided that as a content creator, my job is to talk about what my passion is. My passion is history. And if you want to talk about stuff that's tangentially related to history, like politics and things like that, I'm willing to do it, but I'm not just going to do it for free. I'm going to give an objective analysis on it. But if you want to go toe to toe about the Jewish thing, ask me a question about Jewish history. Ask me a question about the history of Israel. Ask me a question about the history of the Middle East, because I can guarantee you I probably know more about it than you do, because I don't understand anti-Semites at all. I never have and I never will. You are more obsessed with the Jews than the Jews are themselves. And yes, I'm glad you love big women. Big women need love too. You're not a grifter. Well, I mean, I'm not a grifter either, so it's crazy. I've been accused of being a lot of things. Grifter's a new one, but that means I'm getting successful. If I'm getting successful and I have support and I get accused of being a grifter, that means people think I'm running a con game. I am not. Do you still think Columbus discovered America? No, Columbus didn't discover America. Columbus created sustained long-term contact with Europe and the Americas. How did the Nazis capture the Jews and make them suffer? step-by-step systematic demonization of them, um, basically blaming them for the majority of their problems, eventually rounding them up, taking them to camps, and executing them summarily, gassing them, shooting them, and putting them in giant burial grounds and mounds. The reason they actually introduced the gas chambers and the burning of the corpses at some of the death camps and the concentration camps was because it was too messy. It was too much to cover up what they would do, just mass executions and shootings in the forests. Look at the story of Adolf Eichmann and you'll learn more about that. Syria Syria, Iraq, and Egypt, and many of its inhabitants are displaced from their homeland of Jerusalem. Okay, then. Actually, what are you talking about? What is your belief about Jews and or your opinions? I don't know. People aren't asking me specific historical questions. They're just making points that gripers on the right and the pro-pallies on the left just love to talk about. I'm not political. I mean, history is political, and as much as history is political, I'm political. But beyond that, I am not political. Will you be my New York pizza pal? That I'm more down for. Franco was a benign dictator. Franco's birthday was today. I do a daily history, daily birthday, and daily death anniversary video every day on this channel. Franco was not benign, but Franco was politically savvy enough to know when to be benign and when to be oppressive. And because he wasn't a communist, the United States was perfectly okay with letting him stay in power in Spain with becoming issues with across the with the Cold War and the Soviet Union. And a happy Friday to you, and a happy Friday to everybody who's joining us. Please like and subscribe, become a friendly neighborhood historian. It's as easy as that. How did the people in Egypt push the massive blocks? Could it be aliens? It could be, but I don't think so. Let me see here. Okay, Vey got himself in trouble. This is why you're losing control. Oh, for goodness sake. What did he say? Nice lies, Jew, cultural Marxist. Cultural Marxist. I despise Marxism. It's these people fascinate me. How much can you unban him, please? Because I want to hear more. I want to see how far the nonsense that people go into. These people, this is why I'm a free speech absolutist for the most part. Where unless you're like actively just insulting or trying to distract the channel, or you're just bringing up lewd stuff, I'm perfectly fine with you talking about whatever you want. That doesn't mean I'm going to engage with it necessarily, but you can say, I believe people should be basically allowed to say whatever they want, whenever they want, and not be punished for it, as long as they're not inciting violence or hurting someone with their words. And no, your feelings getting hurt isn't your words getting hurt. Yeah. And Pearl Harbor Day is Sunday, December 7th. Oh, there we go. Live stream lecture could be Pearl Harbor, but I've already done one about Pearl Harbor. I'll let you guys vote like you normally do. Let me see. Who founded America? Well, the Native Americans, various different tribes, encountered the Americas over the last 20 to 5,000 years. But who created long-term contact in the United States? The Europeans, starting with the Spanish, then the French, the Dutch. Yeah. Bro looks like he's mad Jewish. I'll take that as a compliment. There are many, many good-looking Jewish people. I have Arab and Jew fatigue. Yes, and I do here on the channel, too. I'm tired of talking about this stuff all the time. The only people more obsessed with Judaism and Jews than the Israelis or the Jews, of which I know many, are the anti-Semites. This is the thing that fuels them. It's the only thing they think about. The Jews did this. The Jews did that. The Jews did that. The Jews did this. Was Jesus married to Mary Magdalene? No. Do you still think, do Jewish men like big women? I don't know. I'm not a Jewish man, so I'm not going to speak to that. How did the Nazis capture the Jews and make them suffer? I already mentioned that. They did all sorts of experiments and torture on them, too. I haven't ruined any world. Did you know that pepperoni is not Italian? It's an American invention? Not surprised. Salami is Italian. Let me see here. Do you think that triumphant stones were there before the Romans? Don't know. Religion is poison. Religion is the vehicle people use to spread poison, their own poison. I've always found that religion is the vehicle of the person who is using it. In history, this is true. That's why you get incredible amounts of discovery, scientific and mathematical, during the Islamic Golden Age, but you also get the terrible repression in modern Islam and radical Islam. You also get Christianity, the ones who created hospitals, orphanages, and universities, but also the ones that deprived people of basic human rights during the Salem witch trials and witch trials all throughout Europe and the Inquisitions. So yes. Let me see. So what are Taiwanese? There were native people who lived on Taiwan, and then a large number of Chinese people moved there from the National Republic. Gonna ignore what? The Native Americans are Central Asians. They come from the land Bering. Yes, they came across the Bering Strait. I'm aware. Marxism and communism being secular Judaism. Oh, for Pete's sake. Yes, I'm aware that Karl Marx was a Jew. Wow. You know who else is? Because of people like you, everyone knows that Marx was a Jew. Everybody, and this is what I hear all the time. Did you know Marx was a Jew? I have never had an Israeli come onto this channel and say, did you know that Jesus was a Jew? They don't brag about who the great Jews in history, of which there have been many. But other people want to talk about the Bolsheviks were all Jews, and these people were all Jews, and Karl Marx was a Jew, and the people who wanted Jesus dead were Jews. Ooh. But no, I never had a Jew come onto this show and say, you have to recognize that Jesus is a Jew because Jews are better than everybody else. They don't believe in that nonsense. They don't believe in that nonsense. Maybe some of them do. There's always people in any group that believe I'm slightly better than everybody else because I'm this race, that race, this race, because they're stupid. But I've never had that. That proves that the people that care most about Judaism are anti-Semites. So, yes, Marx was a Jew. You know who else was a Jew? Einstein. Go away. Let me see here. What are your thoughts on Nick Fuentes? Oh, for Pete's sake. Give me a super chat and I'll give you my full thoughts. If you can't figure out what I think about this little creep from what you've heard so far, then you can go. Then that. By the way, the guy is around my age, and I don't know. And I mean, I've been hearing about this guy for years, and it bugs me to no end. I know he's got a huge platform. I know the people who follow him will go and spread his propaganda everywhere. The guy is completely historically illiterate, completely. I don't even know what to say about it, let alone the politics of the matter. I don't even share my political perspectives. I'm just talking about what the guy said about race, and that alone and anti-Semitism shows an extremely, extremely limited amount of knowledge about history. Okay, let me see here. Debate Nick Fuentes, coward. I will gladly debate Nick Fuentes about history. 109 countries. Oh my God! Oh wow, Harry, Harry, speak out the 109 countries. See, nobody cares. Nobody cares about your nonsensical 109 countries BS about the Jews. And why is every one of my live streams just a place for you groypers to come and express the anger that you have against the Jewish people because your dad didn't love you and your mom fell in love with a Jewish guy who became your stepfather? I'm sorry, I just don't get it anymore. I really, really don't. Why are you so damn obsessed with the Jews? They never, as Dave Chappelle says, never begin or end a sentence with the Jews, but I had to. The fact that you asked that question, it's an anti-Semitic question. Of the Jews got kicked out of 109 countries. You know that, right? The truth of the matter is the Jews got kicked out of 109 countries, and the main reason why they were kicked out of all those countries was the anti-Semitism. I mean, the anti-Semitism is the main reason that the Jews were indeed kicked out of 109 countries. So the very thing that presupposes your ridiculous question. I'm sorry, I like being friendly, but you're not being friendly. You're being bad faith, so I'm gonna be harsh. The very thing that presupposes that anti-Semitic nonsensical question is the answer to that question is anti-Semitism. That's why. There are examples of Jews being bad in history, of course, just like every other human race. But not every single one of them is automatically, that's why the Jews got kicked out because they were bad. Or that's because the Jews were kicked out of Middle Eastern countries in large numbers after the 1948 war. Because they were Jews. They were forced to leave. Jews were kicked out of Europe. Jews were kicked out of Spain. Jews were kicked out of Russia. Jews were kicked out of Great Britain. Go down the list. Now, Jews were kicked out of Egypt. If you want to count the Exodus, whatever that is, whatever historical event the Exodus was, in addition to the biblical account, that would be kicked out of. For goodness sakes. So the 109 countries were wrong. Yes, hating people because they are different is wrong. Whether you are a Muslim, a Jew, or a Christian, or a Buddhist, or a Hindu, or a Zoroastrian. Let me see. Sounds like a Democrat complaining about Jews. It's not the Democrat. These people are so far on the right, they're just insane. It just proves horseshoe. I don't think that there's a political spectrum. I used to only think it was that the horseshoe theory applied to history and politics and history, but now I'm starting to think that the horseshoe theory really is political. People get so far into this stuff on the right, they go back to the left, or they fall into the left. A lot of them were red-pilled, or whatever that means, which barely begs the political question, and I should be charging for this analysis, but really, were they ever conservative? Were they ever on the right? It's fascinating to me that the stalwart voices of conservatism, whatever you think of them, kind of have held the line and stayed the same. Then you've got these people who've come in, been so right all of a sudden, and then now all of a sudden they're almost acting like they're on the left when it comes to some of these issues. It's crazy. Let me see. You don't get credit for your grandparents living through a genocide when you do a genocide. I didn't do a genocide to anybody. Nobody's doing a genocide. People do not. That's just ridiculous. I want to hear the history of megalithic stones. Thank you. So Baalbek in Lebanon is a great example of this. The Pyramid of Giza. Every civilization in human history has had megalithic structures. Stonehenge would count as a megalithic structure. They don't know exactly where they come from. There's theories about who helped build them. So yes. Excuse me. Let me move forward. I love how friendly history hates idiots, but when it makes him laugh enough, he will keep them and be a hypocrite. I'm not being a hypocrite. Why people hate Jews? I really wonder. I have the same question. I've studied this anti-Semitism. Go read my Substack article about anti-Semitism. I wrote 2 articles about it last week. Just looking at it from a historical lens, because seeing it come back is terrifying to me as a historian. But I thought we were past this. But it's like people hate Jews because I don't know why. At the end of the day, it's just proof of how primordially stupid we are. Just the same reason of what if you took up a theory that English people, because of the Bank of London, English people are the real evil ones, and they have corrupted everything. And you could make an even better argument because the British had a far longer track record of historical power, prominence, and dominance than the Jews ever could have hoped to have. The Jews have never had political dominance, never had it in any society, other than a slim amount in the Levant during 1,000 years before Muhammad, 500 years before Christ. And yet the British would be a much better candidate for world domination, and they're using religion to control you, and they control the weather. But we don't say that about the British. We talk about the terrible stuff they did during colonialism, and as we should. But the British are far more bigger candidate for your ridiculous amount of envy than the Jews, and yet the Jews get it twice as bad with half the power. How is it the Eastern Roman Empire taught in the U.S.? Oh, we should talk more about the Eastern Romans, the Byzantines. We kind of leave them as a footnote when we teach history because we're talking about Rome, but the Byzantines are fascinating people of Greek culture and society, but predominantly Roman in their politics. And of course, Justinian is one of the goats, one of the greatest emperors ever. If you want to run a business, no matter what it makes a business, it is make a business partner a Jewish friend. Oh, for goodness sakes. Everything is anti-Semitism. Why are we banning these people? I actually think we should not ban these people because when you ban them, you give them the crusader idea of the Jews are persecuting me. I'm a victim of the Jews, and friendly history is a Jew is working for Mossad, just like everybody in history was working for Mossad apparently, and he's being paid by AIPAC, and Ben Shapiro is his uncle, and all of this nonsense that is not true at all. Don't ban them, Harry and Hars. Don't ban them because then you let them be martyrs. We'll do the same thing we did with Evan. Let them spew their nonsense, and I'll get over it. I'm not going to interact with it. They can keep saying what they want to say. So unban them. Let them say what they want. Yes, this live stream has been fun. Why do you keep entertaining the questions you don't like and the issues you think are so silly? Stop. Dash it. Well, I did stop, but I mean, bad ideas deserve to be exposed, and if that's what's going to dominate the bulk of my chat, and I have to do this crap again with a new group of people, because every time it's a different group of people. I wonder if people are making burner accounts to come here and talk about this. I mean, Keith, you may not have been here, a friendly neighborhood historian, when we had maybe 6 months ago, we had a guy, 7 months ago, we had a guy, he was Muslim, and he would come on here, and he was just obsessed with insulting the mods, insulting me, and Islam is great, and the West is evil. And it was all that. And I have no problem with people talking about the West being evil, but I have a problem with someone who's going to say imperialism of the West has caused all of the problems in human history, and then they glaze the Ottomans, and they glaze the Mamelukes, and they glaze the Ilkhanites, and they glaze the Rashtuns, and the Umayyads, and the horrible things those people did to their opponents. Just goes completely hollow. So I would interact with him, and eventually I got so tired of it, I got rid of him, because I couldn't take it. It was just every single time, and it was the rudest, nastiest thing. He exposed himself, and he didn't make his religion look that good either. So let the far-right lunatics ruin themselves. Parson Harry, unban them. Let them ruin themselves. So, science would be fun. Name him. So I love history. Well, Bong James, I'm sorry that I've been distracted by idiots, but I love history too, and I'm so glad that you're here. Let me see here. Why do people call others anti-Semites when they're just calling out things that Jewish people do? You can call out everybody doing stuff. Jewish people are not excluded. Yes, I didn't say that you're an anti-Semite for calling out people. I'm saying that people who just want to talk about Jews all the time, and they're so obsessed with Jews, hating Jews, that's anti-Semitic. I mean, no one would tolerate an ideology that focused on hating black people all the time, no matter what. Although these people kind of subscribe to the same nonsensical nonsense from their Nick Fuentes sources, like Nick Fuentes and Nick Fuentes-like sources of hating black people, of despising black people because they think they're not good enough, and despising Jews because Jews are too good. It's disgusting. It's racial envy and racial pride all mixed into one. But no, of course, people can criticize evil Jews, bad Jews, people who do something wrong. But criticizing someone needs to be about their person, not because they were a Jew. That doesn't necessarily mean anything that you're a Jew, one way or another. Want to know who Nick Fuentes is? He's a guy who has some crazy views. He hates Israel and blames a lot on Israel. He is on the radical right and has been coming around a little bit. What? And yes, triathlon stones, bro. I want to hear the history about them. I don't know about the triathlon stones. We're talking about any history you would like to, Dr. Dredd, now that we finally got rid of this nonsense. Is communism a religion? Communism puts the state in almost a religious place, but communism is anti-religious. The Romans did crucify Jesus. The Jewish leaders wanted him dead. The Romans wouldn't have killed him otherwise, probably. Thank you, local man, for subscribing. Yeah, you didn't need the super chat, I guess. Okay, I've tried to catch up to the chat. Okay, I'm finally seeing real questions. Dude supports foreign governments funding politicians. Yes, clearly, I do. Me too, back. This chat is raising my blood pressure. Me too, back in 5. Where's the smoking jacket? It's too hot to wear a smoking jacket. I'm burning right now. What made you interested in history? Are your parents also history lovers? Just curious. Yes, they were. I'm into history because my mom took me to the library when I was young. She let me look at anything I wanted to. She let me go to the nonfiction section and read the history books there. And I just love the texture. I love the smell of those old books. They just appealed to me. And then the history started getting ingrained in me. And I just fell in love with it. And I had to consume everything I could possibly get my hands on it. And that was just, and I talked about this a little bit recently. I should probably write a Substack article on it. But the truth of the matter is there's a level of history that's focused on absorbing knowledge, memorizing. People who love history tend to absorb a lot of knowledge about it and learn a lot. Like, ooh, I got to memorize this, and I got to memorize this, and did you know this? And they get the actually, they push up the glasses and all of that, and they just do quick facts. You know, they lay out facts that are so awesome. And that's where you start, but that's not where you finish. I found in college that what I loved so much about history wasn't just I knew all of these cool facts, but the meaning, the depth of knowledge increased, the Bloom's taxonomy rose, and all of a sudden I was dealing with information that was extremely applicable, where it's like, wait a second, there's this knowledge to comprehension thing, and then from comprehension to application to wisdom, where you're basically looking at it, and you're looking at what happened, why it happened. So what happened is the facts, why it happened is the comprehension, but then it's, what does it mean? So every time I think I've plumbed the depths of history, I find another connection in history. I find another social science experiment that is happening in history. I make another realization about history, and I love it more and more. And the more history I learn about more parts of the world, the more I love it. So let's see. Great question. If you're murdering in the name of Judaism, it muddles the waters, dog. Yes, they're not murdering in the name of... who's murdering? Who's they? No one's... Very few people are murdering in the name of Judaism. Does murdering in the name of Islam muddy the waters too, or is it only the Jews we want to focus about? Let me see here. Love your enemies, love your neighbors as you love yourself. Greetings, great to see you. Tonight is Krumpsnacht, and I wonder if you might favor us with a few words about this ancient Alpine. I don't know enough about Krumpsnacht, so Shuriken, you're going to have to tell me about that, but it's great to see you as always. Let me see. How do we take financial incentives out of American politics? Ban it. Ban it. It's not going to happen, though. No, but no one migrates to their wonderful places, and they never ask themselves why. Yeah. So Jews fund our government. That not weird? Jews in America, there's more Jews in America than any other country except Israel. And for the longest time, there were more Jews in the United States than there were in Israel. What's your point? Foreign governments trying to influence politics. Wow, that's crazy. It's not like Britain doesn't try to do that in the United States. It's not like France doesn't. It's not like but the only country you care about is Jews, is Israel. Yeah, let me see here. Thanks, Natasha. I needed that compliment. Let me see. How do we take... I already answered that. We're so evil, they come with billions. Hates on Islam, worships Israel 7K. What? I don't hate Islam. I don't hate Islam at all. I have my issue has never been with the history of Islam itself, other than the problems within Islamic history, just like American history or Russian history, which is my expertise, or any other form of history. My problem is with people that are with Islamic historical apologists who come onto this channel and are just obsessed with Islam. And there's nothing wrong with Islam. And Islam has almost never done anything wrong. And you're just saying that because you're a Westerner and you're evil. If you try to point out anything wrong, you're a Westerner and you're a hypocrite because look at what the West has done. I talk about what the West has done. They won't talk about what Islam has done. Let me see here. Are you familiar with Zoroastrianism? It's the ancient religion of Persia. It's one of the earliest monotheistic religions. I think Zoroaster was the god, and Ahura Mazda, which is like the coolest name ever, I'd love to name my dog that someday, was the prophet. It's either that or the other way around. Let me see. Is Kwanzaa going on right now? I don't know. Let me see. Thank you for joining us from Puerto Rico. We have people from everywhere, like Harry, my great moderator, who's from Britain. Let me see here. I don't know who Makachev is. Please go to subscribers only for people subscribe 5 minutes or longer. I don't know subscribers only. What do you mean subscribers only? Subscribers only. I'm looking at top. All I can see is top fans. So I don't know what you're talking about. But we are 38 minutes into an hour-long live stream, so put on your glasses. Okay. I don't always put them on. I don't need them necessarily, but they do add a layer of sophistication, I guess. Yeah, let me see here. Terrorism equals Islam. Can you, stop repeating that? It's just getting annoying. Native people of Minnesota. Native people of Minnesota? Oh, well, that's kind of cool. Let me see there. What else? This chart has lowered your blood pressure. Who won the War of 1812? Oh, no. I'm not getting into the War of 1812 again. I get onto it too much with this channel with my own moderators. The British did. Do you believe Jesus is the one and only God? I don't share my religious perspectives. If you want more analysis about Christianity as a religion, I sound like a friggin' AI, give a super chat. If you can't say the Likud party is doing a genocide, you can't be taken seriously. How? B, no, they're not doing a genocide. Sorry. They're just not. Talk about how the food in the New World changed a lot. Potatoes, squash. Potatoes were toxic in the soils of the New World, but far more easy to grow in Europe. So the Europeans brought them back, and of course Ireland became the hub. But potatoes are not from Ireland. They're from the New World. What's a real deep behind the scenes curtain of the story of Star Wars Empire Strikes Back and Return of an oppressed group fighting against an empire. It's supposed to be an allegory for the last World War, World War III. So, let me see. Can you believe you are my #1 streamer for my YouTube rap? Well, that's very nice. I'm very happy to hear that. Well, please go to subscribers, lonely for people, subscribe. I don't know what you mean by that. How do I do that? I'm sure she is. The guy's crazy and out of his mind about the War of 1812. Don't trust him on that. Any comment? Yeah, sure. What was going on in ancient Egypt? Their ideas are wild. They had a polytheistic religion that was full of mythological cults that could worship any god. How can we stop corruption in governments? Taking money out of it, decentralizing that would be a huge part of it. And thank you for Emir for the super chat. That really helps. Let me see here. Was the Reformation the cause of the peasants' uprising in Germany in the 1500s, or would have happened anyways? Peasant uprisings happened all the time in Europe. You don't necessarily just blame the Protestants for that. But the truth of the matter is Luther and the Protestant Reformation was a cause for the peasants to revolt and seek better rights. What they thought was better rights. Yes, and they were established in Polynesia before the arrival of Cook. Yeah, well, Wackyhead, if a username like Wackyhead, I don't know how you're going to argue about taking something seriously. Yep, before the Polynesia, yeah, those climates actually were better for growing potatoes. Will you run for president someday? Look at how I handle things. No one would want to vote for me for president. Yes. Thank you, Rodolfo. I do love these glasses. I use them for my Woodrow Wilson costume, and they work perfectly. How many cultures did Russia colonize? Russia absorbed a bunch of different cultures through conquest. The Tatar culture, the Cossack culture that eventually became part of the Russian Empire. The Russians conquered the Poles. I don't know if you would call it colonization. It doesn't involve a lot of travel. The Russians just expanded more and more in different directions. Let me see. I'm a white male. Everything I say or do is considered racist, homophobic, fascist, and antisemitic. If you haven't noticed, unless you need glasses, I'm a white male. Nothing I said was racist, homophobic, fascist, or antisemitic. Saying it doesn't make it so. Anyways. Is Candace Owens crazy and bipolar? Usually I would say give a super chat, but at this point, who the heck cares? Yes. Can you tell me about the potato famine and what did it have to do with the Irish and the Italians? Joe, great question. The potato famine hits Ireland really hard in the 1840s. The British basically forced the Irish to divest a large amount of their potatoes to Great Britain. And thank you for the gift. I really appreciate it, Digital Soldier. But basically that caused famine. Million people died. Many millions more migrated to the United States. This caused a new wave of migration. The Italians would migrate later near the end of the century during the Industrial Revolution for economic opportunities. Modern consumption of Krampus. Oh yeah, that's the evil version of St. Nicholas who punishes the wicked on the eve of the feast of St. Nicholas. Well, today is the eve of the feast of St. Nicholas. St. Nicholas Day is tomorrow. Yeah. Oh, that's right. He's a monster that kills people. I had forgotten about that. And Amir, thank you. What do you know about Easter Island? I have to be honest with you, not a huge lot. I think it's in Polynesia, or is it Macaronesia? And of course, you have these ancient, almost like megaliths, like we were talking about earlier. I feel bad. You gave a very, very generous super chat, which I really appreciate, and I don't have much to say. Obviously, the Easter Island heads, where they were exactly made, how they were exactly fashioned, is a little bit of a mystery, but they are similar to a megalith. They're obviously not as big as a megalith, but that's become the main attraction to the island. I believe Cook discovered it, the British, on Easter, so that's why it's called Easter Island. I don't know a huge amount more than that. Some Latin American DNA is found in some Polynesians. Believe they took Latinos for wives. Well, it's also that migrations, Polynesian peoples probably at some time period migrated across the Pacific and settled in Central and South America. Out of everything America wanted, when did... Oh, wait, you guys are arguing. Okay, the Irish had food, but it was sent to the UK. Yes, they didn't have enough food, though. It was a blight on their crops that was going on, too. What happened to the Avars after the Franks conquered them? Forced them to become Christians, or else thanks to Clovis the First. Did you ever have chicken merengue, Napoleon's favorite dish? No, but I should. Thank you. Maybe I'll order that if I go out and eat tonight. And if you guys want to go out and impress somebody with history knowledge and what you've learned today, please like and subscribe. Not that that'll change it, but hopefully you enjoyed today's Q&A, and you can go and impress your friends at the local pub after this and have a very safe weekend. We'll be back tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern for another hour of Q&A, but I have about 15 minutes left. Just reminding you to like and subscribe before you do. It's great to see you, Blue Baron. They are Polynesians. I think it's cool looking into the different waves of immigrants that moved into the USA, the British, the Germans, and the Irish and the Italian. And every group encountered almost the same thing. And from the West, you have the Asians who are coming in the same way. The Germans were worried about the Irish. The Irish were worried about the Italians and the Chinese. The Italians were worried about the Jews. It's just been the common trait in American history to worry about immigrant generations. Do you still smoke the pipe? I do, but not right now. Let me see here. Oh, you don't have to say goodbye. I'm still here. I'll be around for another 15 minutes or so answering questions. Let me see here. Let me see here. What is the history of Christmas music in Europe, like chorus and singing hymns? Most of the Christmas music is actually based in ancient church music. There were hymns about the birth of Jesus from the early Christian church. But if you read like the lyrics of some of the more traditional Christmas songs and you read the second, third, they're very heavy in their Christological convictions. Tannenbaum, the O Christmas Tree. Martin Luther is the one who made the Christmas tree popular in Germany and gave it a Christian reinterpretation. Watch Hars. Put my video on Christmas. I made a video about the traditions of Christmas. But a lot of European church songs and hymns inspired Christian or Christmas songs that are more traditional. Of course, O Come, Emmanuel is, 8 centuries old? It's one of the oldest hymns, and of course it's one of the most famous hymns there is, but other hymns were inspired by chorale music and chorus music. The Carol of the Bells is another example of that from the medieval church. But yeah, if you want to learn more about the traditions of Christmas, Hars will have, we'll put that video, that long form video in the chat. You can watch that since I don't have a long form video coming out today. Do you know anything about the 5 crime families in New York? Not off the top of my head, a little bit. It just seems interesting that every immigrant group that came to the United States found the need to develop try to get their American dream, try to get their streets of gold without hard work, but through a more seedy means. And the mafia was definitely that for the Italians. The Chinese had their own gangs, and the Jews and the Irish all did so. The Irish were very much in link with political movements in City Hall in New York. Tammany Hall was the democratic political machine of the 1870s and 80s. Boss Tweed. So, let me see what else. Questions about history. The Moai of Easter Island were positioned along the coast, all facing inland when they were caved. The eyes were carved out last to allow their power to flow out, so they're natives. Oh, I see. So they're supposed to be like gods then. That's fascinating. How long have you been teaching history? I've been doing this channel for about almost 2 years. We'll be 2 years old in February, but I've been doing history for a long time, as long as I can, and been teaching and tutoring and doing all sorts of combinations with it for well over a decade now. Yeah, sure. I'm freaking like that, whatever that means. What are your thoughts on this past August that the Israeli flag has now become a federal crime, illegal to burn in the United States? You can burn every other flag, including the United States. I think it's not a, I don't think that actually became a law. People were proposing that as a law. It's an absolutely ridiculous law. I don't know where I stand on flag burning as an American myself. I understand both sides of the argument, but I think it's a double standard. There are people who are obviously overly obsessed with Israel and obviously overly pro-Israel in the United States, but they are immediately used as a cudgel by the Groypers and the far left, the pro-Pali people, to say, see, Jews in Israel bad and U.S. bad too for supporting Israel. Let me see here. Why are Samoans and Tongans especially so big eating Western kind of food, where in their home country back in the 50s they weren't that big? Well, Americans don't eat well. Let me see here. Tayyib, it's great to have you here. Thank you for joining us. I'm so glad you joined us. What are your thoughts now about Trump saying that no Somalian should be in America and that the current serving one in Congress should get out of America and be deported? If you want my analysis on a political topic, give a super chat, Scarface. I've already talked more than enough politics today and geopolitics and stuff like that. I haven't done it this week, but I try to do daily news updates. Yeah, there's obviously a lot going on with that. I mean, there's the Somalian welfare fraud charges in Minnesota. There's a lot of issues and questions, and a lot of it is cultural clash between the Somalians and the Americans. Let me see here. I find it hard to believe as far south as New Zealand and as far east as Easter Island, but never came across Australia or America. Interesting. Thank you. I appreciate that. Let me see. Did Native Americans, who is Harry and Hars fighting with? Why did you time out Hars? Did you time him out because you didn't like his answers? You shouldn't have timed him out. USS Liberty was for Pete's sake, it's you again, wanting to go down the same route. USS Liberty was a ship that was attacked by the Israelis in 1967 during the Six-Day War as a false flag operation, hoping the United States would declare war on Egypt and help them in their war against the Egyptians. Several American men were killed. Yes, it was a terrible, terrible thing that Israel did. It was a stupid idea at the very best and an evil one at worst. What do you? Oh, wow. A country's done evil things. Wow. It's not, the big deal is not that I admit, is that I'm not saying to get over it or it's not a big deal. I'm not saying who cares. I'm simply saying, of course, we should care about that. But it's always these things that get brought up. Lavon affair, things like this, that it's like all of a sudden now we know Israel is evil because of this one incident, when every country has dozens of incidents similar or like that. Let me see here. Persia is nothing but royalty. No. The Persian people are extremely different than the Middle Easterners, and you need to use another term. Seriously. Oh, yeah, that's right. Your James Monroe handle. Tell Harry to stop. Stop timing him out. I already did tell him to stop timing you out. Oh, my goodness. More than one. So now my moderators have turned on each other. This is just ridiculous. E-Dog, good to see you. Why do Africans and Mexicans not have the technology to build an empire? Partly because their resources were stolen by empires. Partially because of the itinerance of the people who have lived in that area. The various different Bantu-speaking peoples of Africa were very migratory. The Aztecs and Mayans were more settled, but many Native Americans were itinerant. The more itinerant people are, the less settled they are, the less they feel the need to invent things for travel. And that's why you don't get the wheel. That's why you don't get written language. YT grifters don't care about nuance. No, but I care a great deal about nuance. Not because of one incident. Israel is evil. It's a multitude of them, but Israel is not excluded, and they always want to. Israel is not excluded from criticism, and I have no problem with that. Historically, things the country does are subject for criticism. The United States is no excuse. Western countries are no excuse. What I have found in my practice more than anything is that people in the West and Israelis who've come on this channel are more than willing to criticize their own countries, except Harry. But people in the East, the Middle East in particular, who have a passion for Islam, will not apologize for the misdeeds of Islam. That's my general experience. I know Tayyib and others will, but with some of the people I've had to encounter and some of the arguments I've had to encounter. I mean, I was basically told that I basically got in an argument with somebody about the existence of Mecca in the 7th century, which it probably didn't exist in the 7th century when Muhammad supposedly lived there. And this man just went on every one of my videos and started insulting and saying, reviling things about me and my family and everything else, saying horrible things, threatening me almost. And I just would respond to every one of his comments with a question about Islamic history, and he had no answer. And that's because I brought up a point of order. Why am I not allowed to question that? And why am I not allowed to criticize the evils of Islamic imperialism, like the fact that they stole millions of white people in slavery, the Barbary pirates and the Ottomans, the Janissaries? It's all well documented. But that is horrible. That doesn't excuse what the Europeans did. That needs to be talked about. And I talk about that, obviously, a lot too. But that's not me making excuses for Europeans. But nobody from the Islamic world, or nobody who really loves Islam, is willing to say, yeah, that was really awful and we shouldn't have done that. I mean, I'm sure there are many people who will, but I don't run into those people. I run into people who are like, well, you're a Westerner and you don't understand. Or Westerners did evil things too. Well, yeah, of course they did. And I talk about it all the time. And you know who else talks about it all the time? Anyone who knows history and social studies in the West will talk about the evils of the West. But even the people who know about the evils of other areas of the world won't talk about them. But I've met many Israelis who are more than willing to mention how stupid their actions were with the USS Liberty. The West seems to have this interesting standard where it has to, and I'm including Israel, has to acknowledge its sins. And that's fine. But I'm okay with doing that as long it makes us learn more about history, as long as everybody else does it too. So, if the apocalypse started tonight, are you ready with your preps or weapons or any type? No, I'm not. Let me see here. Who are the Marsh? I don't know. Let me see. Oh my goodness. Harry is abusing his power. He shouldn't have a higher mod than me, Hearts. And I absolutely agree. Okay, everything's set straight. Harse will be back eventually. Harry just got a slap on the wrist, and we move forward. Tell me a bit about the historical background of the god Yahweh. Anything copied off the Canaanite pantheon by chance? Probably not. But it could be, but why didn't they copy the other gods would be my question. Yahweh is, of course, the biblical god. I don't know. There are definitely older religions than Christianity. There are mythological religions that are older. Hinduism is older than Christianity. Judaism is the oldest monotheistic religion, but that doesn't mean it didn't take things from older polytheistic religions. But it doesn't seem to be that way, because polytheism and monotheism are so different in their central philosophies. Let me see here. The Europeans are innocent because they are chosen ones. See, that's the same arguments I get from Muslims. But you know who doesn't tell me that? Israelis. Jews. They are more than willing to admit when they mess up. Let me see. There are some dangerous people on the internet. Use caution. Well, I am. But the dangerous people come here, and the friendly people come here. We get all sorts, and that's the price I pay for being willing to let people speak their minds freely without any sort of interruption. What year did the Byzantines realize the Muslims were a real threat? Probably after they took Jerusalem in 638. I just heard moderators' wage benefits will go up. Okay. Does what? As long as everyone agrees Israel is bad and Europeans are good, I think we can get along. Oh, for goodness sake. What Israel is doing right now is messed up. Israel's done a lot of messed up things. No doubt about it. Let me see here. Yes, we are back. Anyways. Hello, Crystal. Oh, was there any ruler scarier than Vlad the Impaler? Ivan the Terrible, Nero, Commodus, Hitler. You want to go to dictators. If you're looking at just kings, the guys I just mentioned. Hi, Crystal. Good to have you here. Let me see. Do you think Israel is committing a genocide against Palestinians? No. I don't. The war is actually coming to an end. I don't see it as a genocide. I see it as the casualties of war, and I don't think that's a good thing. I don't like the way Israel's handled itself on many of these fronts. If you want my deeper analysis on it, you can do a super chat. But no, I would not call what's happening from a historical lens a genocide. What qualifies someone as a defender? I don't know what you mean. Jews are into a self-righteous cult and funded by American taxpayers. It's no secret. Yeah, except that's not. Yeah, it's not a secret because it's not true. The Bible was just meant as a self-help book. People think the BS literally. Yeah, could be. Support me all you want. When was Dr. Sun Myung Moon ideology? I think the 1950s, the Unification Church, if I'm correct. What are your thoughts on the ancient hieroglyphs and paintings of things that we would categorize as UFOs from hundreds of years ago? People, the Anunnaki, the Assyrians, the Nephilim in the Bible, the ancient peoples had some idea that something was out there, and that maybe it had visited them. And almost every society in the world has a legend of giants and mighty men of renown. So, let me see here. Can we talk about the First Nations historically? Where did they come? up with a nation being named first, or is that an Alberta, Canada thing? It's calling them First Nations to realize they were there first. Sabir, good to see you. What do you think about the Tom Barrack who lived in the U.S. delegation to the Middle East, was blackmailed by Jeffrey Epstein, and are we a democracy? Yes, I don't know enough about him to speak more about that. I'm getting tired of all the Israel and Middle East questions. Let me see here. Why would I pay you? If you want me to go more in depth on it, I'm a historian. This is a history channel. You don't get to just come here and control the narrative. If you want me to actually go into detail about a topic that you are particularly interested in that's not really historical, then do a super chat. Sorry, Natalie. Those are my rules. Nobody says, honey, I want to go to Israel for vacation, or those Jewish people are so darn warm and hospitable. Except the millions of Arabs who live in Israel, compared to almost no Jews who live in the Middle East. If you're comparing Israel to the Middle East, when you look at that, it's quite fascinating. There are more Christians in Israel than anywhere else in the Middle East. There are more Muslims in Israel than there are more Muslims in Israel than there are Jews in the rest of the Middle East. I mean, seriously. People go to Israel all the time for vacation. Jews do it all the time. Jews always try to go once during their lifetime. Christians go. Muslims go. Seriously? You really going to go with that bad of an argument? What is your favorite type of music? Super chat, a friendly super chat. Not on topic, but you didn't have to give a super chat. I would have answered that because it's you and me are asking, and I so appreciate you, and you're so kind. And I don't mind answering more casual questions about me. Probably classical, but I love rock. I love classic rock. Jazz is fantastic. Standards music is amazing. Hip hop. I'll listen to almost any genre. I really, really will. Do we have another? No, I don't support anyone who does anything horrible to anyone. Yeah, it's not the Christian God. Jews are henovistic, not monotheistic. That's not true. But okay. No, they are monotheistic. They're not henotheistic. And that's not. Yeah, none of that is true. In fact, there's a condemnation of that god, Baal, in the Jewish Old Testament. Let me see. What about music that influenced history, like Wagner? I mean, Wagner is controversial for a lot of people because of the anti-Semitism, but I think Wagner is extremely important to the development of a German cultural identity, and I think his music is amazing. His music is so good to listen to. Do you think the pagan Saxony was aware of the Muslim world? I do love Thomas Sowell, for whoever mentioned that. The guy's brilliantly well researched. You should listen to his comments about the Jews. Just saying, do you think pagan Saxony was aware of the Muslim world? Not much. And not at all. The Muslim world predated, Anglo-Saxony predated Islam. I think. Yeah, pretty much. The Masons and the Illuminati are the same thing, and how powerful they are today, I'm not sure. Why did the monarch of today visit Alberta, Canada, and cover up historical births and family DNA? The British monarch is still the head of state of Canada because it's part of the Commonwealth of Nations in the Angloid sphere that Britain still tries to ceremonially control, showing the good relations between them. Let me see here. Let me see. I don't support genocide. Yeah, there are topics that are also highly sensitive that get named, which I think is reasonable enough to pay for answers for, since if you look at history, many people don't like that. Yeah, that's true. And so people don't like what I have to say because I quote the history, because I go into the history and I actually say, this is a real historical argument that supports this or that. And if people want my in-depth analysis on an issue, I'm going to bring history to the fray. But if they want to just talk about politics and religion and all of this other stuff and just make that what the channel is about, I'm not going to allow that to happen. That's why there's a paywall behind that. I'm sorry. You don't have to like it, but that's the way it is. Hopefully you like the other stuff we talk about historically. If you have historical questions about Israel, I'll be happy to answer those. Have you heard what's going on in the Jerusalem? What do the Christian Palestinians and others, and what's going on in the West Bank? Yes, I'm aware of the Jewish settlements in the West Bank and how a lot of people feel encroached and their land is being taken from them. I'm aware of the ultra-right in Israel. I'm aware of all of that stuff. Yes. None of that changes any of the things I have said. Can we talk about the history of the name Joe in the Bible? What year and what family held the name Joe? I'm not sure what you mean by that. How powerful are the not-so-secret societies? Skull and Bones, the family Bilderberger. If they can't keep themselves this secret in this modern age, they're probably not that powerful anymore. Well, you were the one who said a dumb thing about Israel. It was obviously more than just soldiers fighting soldiers, mostly just mass bombings of every area you can think of. Because every area you can think of in Gaza, which is a tiny strip of land within a tiny strip of land, which is the size of New Jersey, is covered in fighters and combatants, many of whom are dressed in civilian clothes. And you have tunnels and areas where they are hiding hostages. It's not that simple. Just like if you want to look, do you think that the bombing of Dresden made the last World War a genocide? There was almost no military strategy to destroying Dresden. It's a horrible, horrible thing the U.S. and Britain did. I'm not saying it's a morally excusable thing if it's not a genocide. Thank you for the compliment, Scarface. I like this color. Let me see. Tell us the history of your war against chapstick. Yeah, they do look bad, and I don't have any chapstick, so you should... Chapstick, I did a video about the history of chapstick, so you should probably go watch that, and then you should give a super chat so that I can go out and buy some. Let me see here. I'm doing my best, Dr. Chill. What religion has caused the most wars? Christianity, but only because it's the largest one, so proportionally, I don't know. What do you think about the $7,000 post for Israel? I don't know enough about it. I really don't know what that means. Do you read about King Henry VI? What interests you about his triumph? King Henry VI messed up. I mean, he had bad mental illness because of his grandfather, King Charles VI of France, and his wife basically ran the show and tried to keep him in power while fighting against the Yorkists in the War of the Roses. I am taking questions, Ethan. Or Ethan? Yeah, I think so. Continental Saxons in the time of Charlemagne? They knew a little bit about it. They were aware of them. They were aware of their presence in Spain. Charlemagne wanted to reconquer Spain, but never really got there. Hello, good to see you, Adam. I'm not going to answer my sexual orientation. You're spreading completely false information. Literally, Jewish historians talk about Judaism being henotheistic and Yahweh being Baal. This is no conspiracy at all. Historians talking about something doesn't make it true. I mean, just because you don't think what I'm saying is true. Do you know anything about the Aztecs? Great deal about the Aztec Empire. Only was around for about a century and a half. It's not this long-lasting empire before the Spanish showed up. Qatar, Dubai, United Emirates, or Israel? Well, none of Qatar, Dubai, and the United Emirates are not surrounded by a bunch of countries that want to destroy them all the time and are constantly sending rocket fire into their countries, so probably one of those countries, and that's the reason why. How did Stalin do it? Starving people. Chapstick fun. Thank you so much, Emir. I really appreciate that. What do you think about the Romanov family? Fascinating. Watch my videos on Russian history. I'm going to make a long-form video very soon about the Russian Revolution. I have a series on the Russian Tsars. I have a tier ranking list of Russian Tsars. Hars put that in there and test it. You can watch that. And I also have short-form videos about both Russian Tsars and Russian history. One of the longest reigning dynasties in Europe, messed up at the very end. The history behind the Egyptian pyramids, who built them, why? Don't know. I think the Egyptians built them with large amounts of slave labor. Why did the Russians kill 66 million of their own people? Their governments did. Repression, trying to make the system work, basically fitting a square peg into a round hole by forcing industrialization and communism on a people that weren't ready or open to it. What do you think about all these different beliefs from Allah to Jesus to Buddha and so on? I mean, who's right, who's wrong? I don't think none of us know. Yeah, I'm not going to respond to that. I'm sorry. Scarface, I think you're great, but that's a super chat question, and I don't share my religious perspectives. Waffles. Instead of pancakes. Waffles instead of pancakes. A lot of people use the chapstick. Carmex really does the opposite. It drives that and causes you to buy more. Oh, interesting. Thank you, Scarface. I'll try not to buy that one. They overthrew our government by blackmailing, bribing everybody and everything. Yes, and when you produce evidence of this, then I'll take you seriously. Now, let me see. Friendly history. Please, for the love of God, make me a higher moderator. You both are the same level of moderator, so stop fighting with each other. Let me see. I'm almost caught up to the chat. Hello, Sizzle. I'm sorry. I'm about to end, though. We're just over an hour in. And yeah, Russian Tsars video. Go check that out. I tier rank all of them. You can learn more about Russian history, which is my emphasis. And I am the wizard. I'm the history wizard. And APAC doesn't give me enough money. They don't give me any, actually. Let me see. All right, I'm going to wrap up there. Please like and subscribe on your way out. Thank you for joining us today in this extraordinarily interesting live stream that was part history and part just people deciding who hate a group of people because they're on the internet and they can hide behind their nonsense. Let me see here. It's always a pleasure to have you guys agree or disagree. I'm happy to have had all of the great people here, like Scarface and Natalie, and of course Harry and Hars, my great moderators, Frog and Blue Baron and Shuriken. It was all great to see you. Keith was here as well. Sorry, Keith, that it got a little crazy there. Ethan, you joined us a little late, but it was great to have you. And no Playboy robe today. I might wear it tomorrow. We'll see. But you can find out more tomorrow when we do our live stream Q&A. And you can ask me anything you'd like about history or social studies. And Ricky, you just joined us at the last time. At the last moment, please like and subscribe. We're at 49, so somebody get us over to 50. That'll be nice. Thank you, so respectful. Well, I'm glad that you were here to begin with. But yes, we did a just over an hour, almost 70 minutes of a live stream, and I thought I could only last for 20. But yeah, it was a good time. Rodolfo, Harry, and Harsh, show some love to my moderators. They do such a great job. And there you go. Thank you, Marshmallows. Okay, yeah. And Vincent, great to see you as always. Just as Lois or Halloween. Okay, that's next year. Anyways, that's far, far away. Take care. Have a great rest of your evening. We'll see you back here tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern for more Q&A. And as always, bye-bye now. Love history.